Hello again. It's Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in New York City, and I am jumping on to talk about step 8 of our 9 steps to life change through your strengths. Specifically talking about your Strengths Finder strengths from the book Strengths Finder 2.0 or the book Strengths-Based Leadership, and several other books out there that emphasize the strengths perspective, that we become better and more successful, more energized, less frustrated by concentrating on what we do well already and not by trying to fix the things that we're weak in, not trying to fix our weaknesses. So my name is Becky Hammond, and I am excited to be joining you here this week before some pretty big holidays coming up over this next weekend, and I'm hoping that you are choosing to stop and savor these moments over fretting and working and all the other crazy stuff that we think is super important until we realize we've just missed the moment. So hoping that you're savoring these next few days before the end of the year. This week, today, as I said, we are going to be jumping into step 8 of the 9 steps to life change through your strengths. If you're interested in the full blog post on step 8, that's over at isogostrong.com/reads, READS, where you can read things. And I am excited that we are almost to the end of this series, and hopefully you are getting a chance to see how you can really put your strengths to work in your life to have a life-changing effect. And we are now diving into the second to last step on that journey. And it requires a little bit, step 8 requires a little bit of background, making sure that you know where we've come from. Step 6 and 7 in particular, step 6, we really honed in on the value that we offer through our strengths, through the way that we're wired, recognizing that sometimes that's fairly different from the way that other people are wired and the value that they can contribute. Oh, hey there, Johnny Lynn, nice to see you. And so the step 7 that we talked about last week was then, once we've moved from value, what value we provide through our strengths is what needs we provide, we have. What's the ideal environment that our strengths will really show up and thrive in, that we'll experience the most energy, the least frustration in. In other words, these are our deepest psychological and emotional needs. And so today we're diving into that one step further, because the next step is then, okay, how do I take that information, the value that I have, the needs that I have, and really put that to work? And how do I turn that into something that's not just theoretical, not just some nice statement that I can say, but something that's actually practical and affects my everyday life? And we have to start going about by meeting those needs. So that's step 8, is to meet those needs. When I was in college, I had a season where I was feeling extremely lonely, like painstakingly lonely. And it was crazy because as I look back, I'm like, I had plenty of great friends. I had a serious boyfriend who turned out to be Mr. Right, by the way. And I had really great relationships with my professors and great conversations with them and great feedback that I was doing well in their courses, and I was learning a lot and having deep conversations with people about what we were learning. But I remember just one particular day just sobbing because I was feeling like I was lonely, I was all alone, despite the fact that I had all these great things going on around me. And looking back, I can see that that was my connectedness strength, really crying out for needs to be met, to have meaningful connections that went beyond me and myself and my and what I was doing in the world. And years later, when I stepped back and I realized that now I had those meaningful connections, I realized that it was me who was the one who had to make the change. I was kind of expecting a friend to come swoop in and meet my need to have meaningful connection. But it was only when I was willing to, one, identify what that need was, admit that I had that need, and then seek it out on my own, seek out how to meet that on my own, and then take the risk of telling other people about it, about that I had that need and I needed them to help me meet that, that I was able to start building those meaningful connections, that I was able to thrive in my connectedness. And this is the same thing that happens with every single one of my strengths. And it's the same thing that happens with every one of yours as well. That we all have these deeper needs that must be met in order for our strengths to really thrive. And the only way to start to get those needs met is to make sure that we are putting ourselves in an environment where that's true. And so there's a couple steps, kind of practically speaking, where you can start to move on this process of getting your needs met. And so the first one is that we have to know our needs. We talked about that last week in step 7, so you can go back and review that Facebook Live or over on the blog. There's a good description of it as well as a free resource that kind of gives you a shortcut to understanding what your needs are based on the language of StrengthsFinder, based on your top 5 strengths. So you can go and check that out and download that free resource over there for step 7, the Bring It, Need It resource if you're looking for it. And the second thing is we need to change our paradigm to say we're not thinking that someone like a manager or a friend or a spouse is going to swoop in and meet those needs, but rather we need to begin to figure out what we can do to meet those needs ourselves. And so I think one of my questions for you today is how can you change one thing in your environment that would help you meet one of your needs just a little bit better? And that one thing, which is really awesome, could lead to a ridiculous amount of energy and success for you. So that's a question that I pose to you and leave with you for you to not rhetorically answer, but actually answer and do. How can you change one thing in your environment, one thing that would help meet one of your needs a little bit better? And then the third part is the thing that requires the most courage and the most bravery. As we go about meeting our own needs and figuring out ways to set up our environments to do that, we start to responsibly speak those needs out loud in a constructive way, right? Not in a needy or demanding way, but in a way that expresses what the most ideal environment is going to be for bringing the best of me, for getting all that value that I have out of me. It can be scary because you're telling a boss that you thrive more when you have time to think, and you really need that before being able to make a decision or come to the table with something good. Telling a spouse that you really need more one-on-one time than you're actually getting. That's what David's had to tell me many times, actually. And it feels a little bit vulnerable, like I'm a little bit needy, or maybe this isn't right. But no, follow your gut, follow your the needs of your strengths. Or maybe it's like telling a peer that you need freedom to speak ideas without feeling like they're immediately going to be shot down or be put down, because that's the way that your mind works and that your strengths really can thrive. And so those are the three steps, right? The kind of bold steps: identifying your needs, making your own changes to meet them, and then speaking them out to other people as well. And then I think I'd be remiss not to say that then in the most beautiful and transcendent relationships, it's each other striving to meet each other's needs. So it's me striving to meet my manager's needs or my friend's needs or my spouse's needs. And then reciprocally, it's them striving to meet my need and in return, or even not in return. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen in relationships of mine over the years. And it's happened to me, from that lonely college student to the person who now is in meaningful relationships, both giving and receiving what is needed. And so the second question today is that I want to pose to you for you to really think about is, I wonder if you can think of a time when your needs have been left unmet, where they've been left stranded, and what you did about it in the end, or maybe it's an ongoing thing, what you need to do about it now. So we can continue the conversation over on our Energy Up, Frustration Down by Our Strengths Facebook page. And I'll make sure that I put that group link right in the comments below after we get finished here, so that you can click right on over to that. Join the group if you're not already a part of it, and talk about how do we navigate this tricky world of trying to get our needs met when everybody has sometimes opposing needs. And you also can get the whole story and the how-to, again, in written form over at Step 8 blog post. And that is already written above here in the description of this Facebook Live, so you can check that out for Step 8, the blog post there. And then lastly, I am running a huge sale on all of Usogo's gifts for the year, for yourself or for other people around you. StrengthsFinder access codes, my Maven email insights series, and my Dynamite Personal Brand course as well. So you can check those out. I will put the coupon codes in the notes here, as well as the links directly over to those, so you can make sure that you don't miss it between now and December 31st. So after Step 8, the last remaining step is Step 9 in the 9 steps to life change. And so we are going to be talking about that next week in our very last Facebook Live for the year, next Wednesday on the 28th, same time, same place. And I will be looking forward to chatting with you again there, and our connection over on the Facebook group in the meantime. So see you next week, and thanks, Johnny Lynn. Bye.